Hello, everybody. This is Michael Pucciarelli, creator of Still Life Photography and Michael Pucciarelli YouTube channel. And tonight, I'm doing a few demos on light painting just in Photoshop, where we talk about how I do light painting in Photoshop. Just first want to do who I am. I started digital photography in 2010. 2013, I got a associate degree in digital photography. And then later I took some still life courses in the summer of still life. And then 2015, where I joined Professional Photographers America. And then 2017 and later, I joined, some local affiliate clubs. And then 2021, I got my Craftsman degree. Photography Craftsman degree during the virtual ceremony. And then 2022, I got my CPP, Certified Professional Photographer. So I accomplished a lot. I still got more to accomplish. That, light painting is, a challenge. And it's a learning process. So before I begin, what I do in Adobe Bridge, or when I light paint, before I use a new light, I always want to use a gray card to sync all the properties in Adobe Camera Raw. And I'll do another video on that later this week. But I just want to use this JPEG to help you explain what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do this. So basically, I start with the background layer. And then I just, I make it dark. Just make it dark. And it's just an adjustment, levels adjustment. You can also do the same thing with, curves. To make it nice and dark. But I always like to use, the levels adjustments. Then what I do is I open up the JPEG. I'm gonna get on one of my actions I use. And it makes it a lot easier. So I'm just gonna, I just recommend using the Lasso tool. So open up the JPEG. I make a selection with the Lasso tool. I copy it, Control or Command C, and then I run this action. And when I run this action, and then what I do is I get a brush. And I always like to use, I'm going to bring up my brushes. I always like to use a very soft brush, soft round brush. And I just paint. And if I paint too much, I'm painting, white on a black layer mask, white reveals, black hides. I paint over here and I see the black, I push the X and I erase it. So I'm going to use the Lasso tool. I'm going to open up another JPEG. I want to do Control or Command C. I'm going to, run this action. Now run this action so that they're all in the Lighten blend mode. And then I get the brush and I paint in what I want to see. I reveal what I want to see. And then if I paint too much, I hide what I don't want to see. I do Control D. And I'm going to just, make another selection. I'm going to select an object. Control or Command C. I'm going to run this action. I'm going to run this action. I'm going to run this action. Paste into place, but it's in the action. All you have to do is just click this button. And then I end up in the Lighten blend mode. Is the action. I paste into place. And I just set the current blend mode to Lighten. And then I get my brush, I paint in what I want to see. And if I paint too much, I push the X key and I hide what I don't want to see. Actually, no, I'm going to bring my Lasso tool. I just recommend doing the Lasso. It's the easiest. Just make a selection. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to do Control C. And I'm going to do more painting. I'm going to get my brush. And I'm always going to use the soft brush. And I just paint. I reveal by painting white on a black layer mask. And if I paint too much, I push the X key and I hide what I don't want to see. So you just push the X, it's a toggle. So I'm going to get my Lasso tool. I'm just going to make a selection. Suppose we're an object. Control or Command C. I'm going to run my action. And when I run my action, I get this. I'm always ending in the Lighten blend mode. And I get my brush. I paint in what I want to see. I reveal what I want to see. Paint too much. I hide what I don't want to see. Yeah. Control or Command D. Do the Lasso tool. Suppose I just wanted this. Control or Command C. I'm going to make sure on the right layer on the layer mask part. And then I get my brush and I just paint in what I want to see. If I paint too much, I push the X and I hide what I don't want to see. I'm going to do Control or Command D to undo the selection. I'm going to get my Lasso tool. I'm just going to select, suppose this were an object. I'm going to do Control or Command C. Then make sure I'm on the layer mask. And then this, I'm going to get my brush. I'm going to make my brush bigger by pushing the French brace key. Either the right or the left, get bigger or smaller. I paint in what I want to see. If I paint in too much, I push the X key and I erase what I don't want to see. Control or Command C. Get the Lasso tool. Because I just put this for an object. I'm going to do Control or Command C. See, I also, the whole point of light painting is to paste in the light you want to see. And I get my brush. My brush is too big, so I'm going to use the French brace key to make it nice and small. I'm painting what I want to see. If I paint too much, I push the X key and I erase what I don't want to see. Do the same thing. I go make the selection on the, Control or Command D. where I would, use a lasso to select that highlight, Control or Command C. Then I get a brush. I paint in what I want to see. If I paint too much, I put the X. And again, I do the same thing. So I'm going to do Control or Command D. I'm going to get my lasso tool. Suppose this were an apple, I'm just going to make the selection. Suppose there's a highlight I want to see. I do Control or Command D. And then I just make sure that I run this action, paste into place. I always end the blending lighting mode. I'm going to get my brush. I just want to paint in what I want to see. If I paint too much, I push the X key and I erase what I don't want to see. Remember, the X key is a toggle between white and black. Again, if I see light that I like, I'm going to do Control or Command D. I'm going to get my lasso tool. I'm going to select what I want to see. Control or Command C. I ran this action. After I run this action, paste into place. I paste into place is in this action. And then I set the blend mode to lighten. And then I get my brush and I just paint in what I want to see. And if I paint over here and I see black, I push the X. I erase what I don't want to see. And then I push the X to go to whites and I paint in the lighting improvements. And then, so I'd open up the JPEG, I'd make a selection. I'm gonna get my lasso tool. Suppose this were a wine glass. I'm gonna do Control or Command C. Actions, I paste into place, which is over here. Edit, paste special, paste into place. Push the escape key. And then I set the blend mode to lighten. And then I get my brush. And I'm always at a passing 100 when I light paints. I'm probably going to paint too much, but that's okay. Therefore, I make my brush smaller. But then, if I want to hide what I don't want to see, I push the X and I hide what I don't want to see. Remember, white reveals and black hides. Again, this is where, when I did this one, did something different, where I selected a whole file. I do Control Command C. And this took some work, did some painting, make sure I'm in the, I'm painting whites in a black layer mask. I'm using, a brush. I'm using the same soft brush, round brush. And I paint in until I get it right. Do the same thing. And again, I saw more lighting characteristics. Do the same thing, I make a selection, Control or Command C. I'm going to do Control D to take away the selection. And then when I paste, actions, paste into place, and use a lighten blend mode. You paste into place, okay. And this is just a clone layer where I just used, the healing brush. And this is slightly crooked, so I decided to fix it. And when I did that, I did, Control A and then Control T, and I just got a level adjustments, and I made it straight. I'm going to go View. I'm going to go Clear Guides. And I did some more cloning. I didn't like that. Felt like that was a distraction. So I cloned it out, used another layer, and then my signature. And so you get this signature, I go to my actions. I just click it, and where, make text layer, and I have it there, and I set the script, all that good stuff. I delete a layer. Do Control Z. Make sure you delete the light layer. So sometimes, I talk about my actions where sometimes when I like to use filters one after the other, these in groups, I use dust and scratches to speckle, sharp high pass, where dust is the filter. I usually have it at 3, 1, 3. And then the speckle, this is no prompt, you just click it. And you got filter, high pass. And I have it set there. Again, I use the speckle, the dust and scratches. And then suppose, that I wanted to sharpen it. I come over here, look okay. Then I go to edit, fade sharp. I like to set this at a luminosity. This is great for contrast. So in that action, I have luminosity. Got to find the action. And all my actions begin with MFP for me, Mike Francis Pucciarelli. Where I have the blend mode set to luminosity opacity 100. So every time I use this action, I only use the luminosity 100. Blend mode with 100, the opacity 100. The blend mode luminosity and the opacity 100. So then I would save it. Then if I were to export it, I do quick export, and then export. I do export preferences, quality 100. Since I'm going to post to the web, I want to check off convert to sRGB. I don't plan on copying this and using it in Photoshop. I also have actions where I have actions where I can give a whole lecture on actions. I just want to concentrate on light painting tonight, where I could do this. I could save it. I'll save it as a Photoshop. I tell it where to save. And if I want to export it, then it's exported. And I have all the settings. Convert the sRGB because I'm going to be posting to the web. So, Light painting is a journey. Light painting is trickly, and I'm just working with Photoshop. And just want to stress that before you begin using any flashlights, start with the gray card, use the flashlight. And when you want to use a new light, make sure that you light paint a gray card so you sync all the properties, avoid all color cast problems. And these are all layers. And I use a layer or more layers for, objects. Start with the regular background layer, make it nice and dark. I go through the same actions. So if you like videos like this on light painting, still life with the white plexi table, black plexi table, equipment and software that I use, please, maybe like and subscribe to, YouTube Still Life Photography and Michael Pucciarelli. Thank you for listening, and thank you for letting me give this webinar on how I do light painting.